Hello and welcome to a special episode of Warcraft 3. This is Marcus after the fact. This is the final Night Elf mission, Twilight of the Gods. And this is me recording post-commentary, so the me playing the game and me talking, not the same Marcus. So, this actually happened like the day after I recorded the campaign session. Because when I was recording the campaign session, I was sort of starting to get burnt out. I'm like, you know what, let's rest a bit. And I was like, I don't know what to do. How are we going to handle this? So on and so forth. So at the end of the day, I said, you know what, we'll just do the cheat strategy and I'll record a separate video for my actual one. Funny thing is, I only had to do one attempt, and this is that attempt here. I got it in one. So what we're doing here is, now that I have some idea of how the level works, we are pretty much, our main core troops are, we're going to have Dryads, Druids of the Claw, and Hippogriff Riders. Now originally I was considering, maybe do I just spam Hippogriff Riders like you did in the cheap method, but try to defend. But the problem with that strategy is, it leaves my heroes out in the open for the ground units. So my heroes would get annihilated. And then I thought about, maybe what I'll do is just spam Dryads and Druids of the Claw. That's one thing to do. And that could have potentially worked. I'm not quite sure. Obviously I didn't try it. But in the end, I just, when I started up the map, like, you know what, just build everything, and it sort of just worked out from there. So the goal here is we have our armies constantly being built. We have our core team decided on. We do not build Huntresses. We do not build Ballistae, because they're useless to us. I don't build Druids of the Claw. I might have accidentally built like maybe 3 or 4 of them over the course of the match. But I try not to build any... No, Druids of the Talon, correction. Druids of the Talon, because I find their Fairy Fire and Cyclone to not be as useful as other things. Now, if you're really good at microwing, maybe you'll get better mileage out of Druids of the Talon and mixing like maybe 2 of them in your army. But I decided to keep things simple and just spam Dryads, Druids of the Claw, and Hippogriff Riders. The reasoning behind Hippogriff Riders is because they're tanky. They have decent amount of health, 780. So they can be healed back up, even though they do the same damage as just a standard archer. So spamming archers for DPS output is technically better. But it's important to have that life, that extra life, because it helps with tranquility. It helps that they're flying, because as they fly, they're harder to get hit. And also because they're flying and you put them in a separate control group, if you need to micro them to like target enemy meat wagons or infernals later on, you can do so. So right now, pretty much we're playing standard, attempting to build up an army, establish my economy, and upgrade all my things, which I think I sort of went lax on a little bit. But you gotta build a bunch of everything, and the game could be a little rough. Luckily, the enemy armies isn't as bad to deal with. There we go. And one of the benefits of defending human base, as long as possible, is you have Jaina as support. And Jaina has the Brilliance Aura, which allows you to do stuff with mana. You can spam your spells a little bit more often. It's very nice. And we don't use any landmines for the human base, because having wanting the hero back and forth to the York base to get landmines isn't really effective, should I say. I mean, you might be able to pull it off if you're really fast, but I'm busy trying to juggle all the other things at once. So I decided against that. You know, finally getting my whisper like 5 minutes in, like, oh hey, our economy's not fully active yet. They get our economy going. Man. I'm surprised this, and what do you see here, I attempt to do some micro, I get Sandwich out of the group, because last time I learned she got possessed by the Bashies. And I said, nope, I'm not dealing with that. And one of the things I use here is Starfall. I find Starfall is most useful on enemy waves, where there's a bunch of enemy units. So when they send out a bunch of weenies, and just spam, attempt to overwhelm you with numbers, use Starfall to equalize that. Because if they send like a bunch of abominations or a bunch of frost whims, the single target damage is probably a little bit more useful. I mean, Starfall can still help there against the big evil dudes. However, I personally find it more effective when, hey, it's per unit, and if there's more units to hit, you get better effectiveness. So I try to keep Shandos alive as long as possible since she's an upgraded archer. Extra health, does more damage. So she can help a fair amount. Shame you can't put her on a Hippogriff. It is what it is. Now again, the reason for the strat, we use Druids of the Claw to tank. They're pretty much our frontline units. And we also use them for the buff. I don't think I make good use of that here in the first wave because I'm still trying to juggle everything at once. But once we have to fall back to the Orcish base, you'll find that I'm using the war a bit more effectively. And this is also one of the fears I had when using my Hippogriff Riders, thinking that they could just go in and annihilate the gargoyles will just fly in and annihilate my Hippogriffs, but it turns out, not really the case. If you can force the gargoyles to attack your normal units on the ground, which they do far less damage to, then not much of a problem. Of course, still trying to get everything, juggling everything here. So as Druids of the Claw is our frontline unit, because they're pretty much the tankiest, in Classic anyway, the tankiest Night Elf unit. And they can also have some caster support as well. We picked up Dryads because of their spell immunity and slow poison, but mainly Abolish Magic. Abolish Magic becomes extremely useful to have, especially when they start sending necromancers with their guys and casting Unholy Frenzy. And Unholy Frenzy, especially when they have basically expendable forces, will annihilate your army, more or less. And there went Shanduis. He got sniped by a bunch of frost whims, which is a shame, but that's just how it went. So Shanduis lasted, what, 9 minutes? Not bad, I guess. If you really want to be good, you probably have Shanduis alive for the entire time, but it is what it is. She got Alpha Strike down. But again, Dryads are used to abolish magic to handle the evil Necromancer waves when they have the Unholy Frenzy. Also, it helps when you have the Dreadlord boss come up. He puts everyone to sleep. I believe Dryads can abolish magic to sleep away, which is another nice reason to have them when you're not trying to micro. Just going a little more on the macro side. Oh, here we go. This is when I think I started. Like, oh hey, they got war. I probably should start using that now. Get all my upgrades queued up. And ready to go. So, Hippogriff Riders on group number 2. And my ground units on group number 1, including the healers. Again, Hippogriff Riders are important because they have, even though they just have the DPS of an archer, they're flying, they're tanky, and do pretty well. And one of the worst things to deal with are those flipping hellhounds, man. That mana burn. That mana burn's rough. But it's wonderful seeing how the Hippogriff Riders annihilate Infernals. Because Infernals are weak to pierce damage. So this was sort of more of a happy coincidence. Because I wasn't really actively thinking about when I was just building everything. I just build stuff. So if you remembered in the finale of the Orc campaign, I was spamming guard towers to handle Infernals. Well, this basically follows the same premise. But instead of guard towers, I am using Hippogriff Riders instead. And again, the Hippogriff Riders are great for handling meat wagons when they try to come in and annihilate structures. Now you might be saying like, hey, what about the tower defense strategy? Well, we don't really use tower defense because I'm constantly trying to build an army up, upgrade everything. And this is still early game, so I'm not too concerned about it. I never really had a good chance to use our term Force of Nature, there we go. Because there wasn't always trees around to use it. And I'm just constantly trying to keep my army built. Keep trying to destroy the enemy as we go. Now eventually, and of course I think originally we fell around this time. On my first attempt. And maybe the second attempt as well. When I decided to do the cheap method. So somewhat amazing. Like, hey, I managed to hold this long without any forces. Mostly because you see most of Jaina forces starts dying off at that point. But here we're actively defending. Everything's sort of okay. Here we go. And because I didn't feel like starting the mission, I made saves. Though in the end I didn't need them because I beat them all. I beat it in my first try. Not recording doing anything. So I believe I covered the main two core. We covered Dryads for their abolished magic, the Druids of the Claw for their frontline status, as well as some casting ability, and Hippogriff Riders for their tankiness and DPS output. Now again, you might be like, why not just spam archers? Infernals will annihilate archers, with the ground units will annihilate them, and you'll constantly be rebuilding dudes. Now I think I probably should start thinking about enemy composition. One of the dangerous compositions is, of course, the Doom Guard, when the Doom Guards show up, because Doom Guards can cripple. They have War Stomp, which is a stun. They have Rain of Fire. They're just like the super unit of super units. Infernals can also be pretty bad because they deal constant AoE damage to anyone around them. And the Fellhounds are bad because they have mana burn. And when you're deliberately trying to constantly have mana to do stuff with, mana burn becomes a bit of a problem. Luckily on the first base, mana's not that big of an issue because Jaina's around and she has Brilliance Aura. So you'll sort of be okay in terms of mana. Once the first human base falls, yeah, mana becomes a little bit more of a concern. In terms of the three enemies, sort of like three, I guess you could say, call it bosses or the three enemy heroes, there's a Lich, there's a Dreadlord, and then there's a Pit Lord. They are not vanilla. They all have some changes to them. The Dreadlord in particular has Rain of Fire, which is what they call it internally in the editor, I believe, which calls down 3 Infernals from the sky instead of just 1. So that's a dangerous fun ability to deal with. The Pit Lord, I think, might actually have Earthquake, because I don't think Thor would use Earthquake, but I think the Pit Lord might have been trying to cast Earthquake, which is somewhat hilarious, because that was sort of pointless for him to use. And here we go, he's the incoming Dreadlord. And so he casts Rain of Fire. There's one of the, oh, maybe that's just a normal, a single one. There are 3. I thought it was 3. But he also turns everyone to sleep, which can be rather annoying when he decides to put one of your heroes to sleep when you're trying to do cast channeled ability. Now luckily, if you manage to do the Beodens mission, specifically do it to the Claw mission, and you fight the giant panda, you get a necklace of spell immunity. And that necklace of spell immunity will help out immensely. I have it on Tawanda so she can continue casting Starfall. And that's how I personally prefer to have the DPS play out, especially since Starfall has such a long cooldown. Tranquility being interrupted, it sucks, but I don't think it's that big of a deal compared to other things. There's the sleep. Yeah, and I canceled out of it because I'm dumb. Whoops. But as you can see, we survived decently well. You know, we're already more than 15 minutes, and that's sort of the Paul time. As you can say, try to survive 15 minutes per base. Yeah, at this point, we're gonna, you know, like we can't handle this wave. Look at that, you got Bashies coming in, Frost Whims, the Duke Winterchill. He does have Death and Decay, but I think he also has Finger of Death, which is like that lightning spell that just you see pop up. And I think they sent it 2 heroes this time, so they definitely like, you are losing this base now. Like, okay. It sucks. But the Lich is dangerous for his Finger of Death ability, as well as other things, and then Humans Dead or 28 minutes, as the save file indicates. He has Finger of Death, he has Death and Decay, because I think I saw him use Death and Decay before. Pit Lord, I believe, has Earthquake. And Pit Lord also has Reincarnation. I don't know if he has any other notable skills off the top of my head. So, going on a different weather note, as the first human base is falling, and now we are going to take full use of the Goblin landmines. So using Goblin landmines efficiently is rather useful, and we can actually afford them now because we sort of have an army. It's easy to get access to, and so on and so forth. Here's the cutscene. I escape out of the cutscene. They say, no, we don't need that. We don't need that. No, sir.
Priestess, the undead have constructed a new settlement. They are mustering new forces to send at us.
And again, we try to start building up everything up again because we lost our army. So you have to rebuild our army. Luckily, every time that you lose a base, they have to, as you saw in the cheap video, if you saw the main thing, they unsummon their old base and they rebuild a new one. Now granted, when they rebuild, it's an accelerated pace, but the important thing to note is that their wave composition goes back to being the basic. So they just send like an army of ghouls and crypt fiends at you, and then they'll start upgrading everything again to the like Dreadlords and Necromancers. Well, Dreadlords, what? Doom Guards, Infernals, and Fellhounds. They're not Fellstalkers, that's an expansion term for various different Fellhounds, though. Maybe that's what they call it, the Fellstalker for the small one, and the Fellhound's known as the larger one, I don't know. But now that we're sort of reached like the middle stage of the game, most of my units are upgraded, the ones I intend on using. As you can see, I accidentally built a duel of the Talon there. But it's okay, they help out a little bit. And one of the benefits of Thrall's, the Orcs bases, is Orc units are pretty good. And Thrall himself has Chain Lightning, he has the Wolves to help out. Farsight's worthless, but can't have everything. Again, there's the wave number 1. Got to charge everyone. Get a bear for him. Keep charging on the merry way.
The great outdoors. I heed the voice.
You did. So at this point, like every wave, at the end of each wave, I try to constantly buy the goblin landmines, specifically with Furion, because he has the most inventory space. And later you'll see me buy potions, because we start running into mana issues. And it's easy to just build a potion and not worry about it. And also, this is also where you see the most usage out of me trying to gather everyone together around the Druid of the Claw and use war before the end of waves and constantly putting landmines out because we have high upkeep. I mean, almost capped out in terms of army limit. So, is that to consider? We are fully up. We're basically fully upgraded at this point. So we have some extra funds that we can use to buy this things. And then you might think, oh hey, there's a dude just sitting there. Like, nope, I'm not falling for that again. Oh yeah, there. Okay, I do try for it again, somewhat. Yeah, there's the 3, There it is, Rain of Fire. Send down the 3 Infernals from the sky. So that's a big upgrade from Inferno itself. Because why have 1 when you can have 3? Again, you see Hipgriff Riders just making short work out of Infernals. Oh, another reason why Thar's forces work so well is the 12 Witch Doctors. Now, Stasis Ward and Healing Ward do a lot of work. You also got the benefit of the Kodo Beast. Send in the bag, and here we go. Abominations and Frost Winds. Pretty powerful combo. You got some meat wagons at the back. And this would have been one scenario where I said, don't waste it, but you know, stuff was going on, like, yeah, let's use it. And those meat wagon waves is one of the reasons why I said, don't play tower defense. Now maybe it'll work a little easier on normal difficulty, and they'll probably still have meat wagons, so it's probably easier ways to go out and destroy said meat wagons before they annihilate your entire front line. But yeah. And do this for another good 20 minutes. Keep building up our forces, keep building mines. Make sure everything's in order. So on and so forth. Now in terms of the mercenary camps, since I was on top of my game the entire time, I had no need to use the merc camps. I did at near the very end get like the free guys. And also, I want to have special mentions to Entangle. Keep an eye on that abomination throughout the match. Entangle them once, have some guys do some stuff. This is when you really wanted to use Starfall, but I used it already. Gets a different wave because I'm dumb. Because getting rid of those necromancers is important. But luckily we have the DPS to handle and power through their skeleton. There you go. Dies. I mean, I'm sure they had some help destroying it, but Tangled Roots are powerful, man. So go and place down more mines. Everyone went on doing their own thing. constantly keeping the mines out is important. Because as we learned in the Undead Defense mission, mines are pretty useful. As well as in the Night Elf mission where they said, hey, use the mines against the patrolling dudes. Because they at least do, what, 550 damage? And that's pretty significant. Especially when you only have to pay like $255, 3 of them. It's a pretty good deal. Oh, thank you. Yep, I forgot to buy him. There you go, you a Doomguard fell. Stasis Ward's in the day. And again, the gargoyles did not prioritize my Hippogriff Riders, so the Hippogriff Riders are sort of safe. And they can continue just shooting at everything in sight. And doing their thing. Now, I'm sure everyone else had their things to pour as well. But because of the action, it's sort of hard to see how everything goes. I do manage to see some force of nature here. We're at 19 minutes. 19 minutes is good. Placing everything as we need to. Now you see I'm starting like, okay, what do I do now? I'm starting to float resources a little bit, so I'm like, you know what? Maybe it's time to start building some ancient protectors. Because I'm at max food limit. And I can't buy that many things, so I'm like, okay, maybe we can start doing this. There's all the dudes. Bears don't care, bears go after the meat wagons. And the flyers do flyer things because, you know, they're more worried about what's shooting at them. We're definitely easy to handle them. It's all about having tanky people, man. I mean, the Dryads are probably the most not tanky. Because they only have like, what, 380 health? Even though they have spell immunity.
The great outdoors.
But spell money does work in their favor quite a bit.
Our time is short.
Here we go again. Gather everyone around the Druid of the Claw for the damage boost when the next wave hits. Building, spamming ancient protectors. Final finale.
Your building is complete. Someone waiting on you.
Of course, you have to Talon. And then I realized, oh crap, I didn't fully upgrade everything. 17 minutes in, like, oh, whoops. Probably should solve that. There we go, next wave incoming. So here's the Necromancer Abomination wave, which can be rather dangerous because they can summon skeletons. They put in the Unholy Frenzy. But we abolish magic of that frenzy and like, nope, we're not gonna have any of that. That's when abolished magic comes in handy. And everyone continues on their way. I mean, those Hippogriff Riders are helping out so much. Just goes to show if you manage to have good DPS. And all the Dryads, of course, helping out as well.
I'm awake. I'm awake.
Don't count them out.
Our warriors have engaged the enemy.
So to get caught off guard, like, okay, do the war thing.
Research finished.
Do another starfall again and get with the abominations. I'm like, why did they do that? Probably because I'm sitting there going, okay, it's off cooldown. I probably should be spamming it.
Our warriors have engaged the enemy.
And look at this, the meat wagon wave. Look at all those meat wagons. And the wave they send at you when they think, and oh yeah, you're going to play tower defense? How about no? Like, I'm not playing tower defense, what are you talking about?
Our time is now all too easy. Someone threatens the wild.
I have a lot of hippogriff fighters being built. They're like, we need more dudes with claw.
Where shall I strike?
I heed the voice.
I'm awake.
Your
I'm
building
awake.
is complete. On your mark.
Rejuvenation's nice when you get
Someone
toss it on somebody.
I know Dora.
I realize, hey, I haven't built stuff in a while.
Has sleep dulled my senses?
Get more mines.
Is amiss.
The mines are good.
Shall be done. The sleeper has awakened. For
Stand more mines, and we're basically set.
Ashtherodanador.
And at this point, I'm pretty much just reiterating what I've already said.
I know Dora.
We're slowly starting. We'll just lay down more mines, keep building our army. Place what we lost.
I heed the voice.
Our time
Now it looks like we don't have druids of the claw. Build druids of the claw, so we can add it to the main army.
Someone threatens the wild.
And continue on.
The goddess.
Again, this is probably another wave where you want to do starfall in, but guess what? I went too early. Good. Looking at the pit lord. Yeah, he has earthquake, I'm pretty sure.
Our time.
Him casting earthquake is sort of pointless. Because hey, again, we're not doing tower defense here.
The goddess.
That handles that.
Ashrathoraman.
sleeper has awakened. The land and I are one.
And as you if you do compare and contrast, we are doing significantly better. Now we have an army that stays alive, which is the main thing.
Waiting on
The huntresses,
I'm awake.
I think I was attempting for a huntress spam the first time around. Huntresses just
Dulled my senses.
died too much, I believe. You know, because they're like, oh yeah, huntresses, they should be good because they have AoE effects.
Ashtherodanador.
But they just kept dying,
I
and
know Dora. Ashtherodanador.
if they're constantly dying, you have to constantly replace them.
Time is short.
Ashrathoraman.
And we do have to constantly replace these guys too, but they have stronger staying power.
Someone threatens the wild.
So,
Ashrathoraman.
and also having the war
The goddess.
probably helps significantly as well. And it's nice that you can have like the tranquility for almost every single wave. But as you can see, they are slowly chipping away at the base. Sucks. What can you do? Now your main objective is delay Archimon, you're not like sending a counterattack.
Ashrathoraman.
Getting the roots on action going.
Ashrathoraman.
Claw dead again, so we're gonna rebuild them. That's why it's important to have those flyers, man.
As sleep dulled my senses.
They stay alive. They do damage. Pretty great.
Threatens these lands.
As I noticed, like, hey, we're not really using the trees much. Let's
The land and I are one.
preempt it.
Ashtherodanador.
But you also see my Fury and Sun have low mana levels because I
Ashtherodanador.
don't have Jaina around anymore to help regenerate my mana. I do things the old-fashioned way.
Waiting on you.
got a full team of Griffin Riders.
Dulled my senses. For Kalimdor,
Our warriors have engaged the enemy.
Infernals doing infernal things.
Anudora.
Someone threatens the wild. Our time is now.
Our time is short.
So waiting on you.
Where shall I strike?
Charge forward.
Our time.
War. There's another dangerous wave. And this one I noticed, like, oh wait, I don't have my skills to do what I need to do. I think, does he die here?
It shall be done.
Don't quite remember. Now, this was a pretty rough wave to deal with. Because all those fellhounds charged at me and just drained the mana of Furion.
Dulled my senses.
The goddess.
And I keep calling like Malfurion, but I guess he's just known as Furion in Classic. That's when we start buying potions.
Anudora.
Threatens the wild. I stand.
And as you can see, we took significant losses there. So 9 minutes better.
What threatens these lands?
But at this stage in the game, the orc base is still up. You know, we're already like 5 minutes over par. You can say, because again, if you say like 15 minutes per base,
Threatens the wild.
we're doing a pretty good job of defending the orcs.
Goddess.
And this time I saw them coming early, so I went ahead and proc Tranquility, because I knew it was coming. Yeah, I see what you're doing. I'm not gonna let that happen again. But as you can see, things start getting hairy here. I think I managed to hold off this wave. We don't have the Dryads, we don't have full army. There we go, there's the earthquake again.
Anudora.
Which is somewhat significant because your allies won't rebuild their structures. So if the structures go down,
For Kalimdor,
that's it.
Our time.
the land and I are one.
Waiting on you. Waiting on our warriors have engaged.
Keeping your structures active. Pretty important.
The land and I are one.
I heed the voice.
And your opponents are constantly keeping landmines up and having enough mana for Tranquility.
Gold mine is running low.
It shall be done.
You can see our gold mine's running low, but doesn't matter because we still have our 2 other gold mines up, which is rather important.
I heed the voice of a leader.
So we still have those sources of income available to us.
Waiting on you. Asha Thoraman. Someone threatens the wild.
Go, another wave incoming.
Our allies.
Some infernals, some abominations, some crypt fiends charging in, some ghosty ghosts. It was just a mixed crew all around, but look, it's composition. I think this probably might have been a good Starfall one. But do I use it? Nope, I use it. Annihilating the skeletons and their other guys, pretty important. And they do have Carrion Swarm. Is it called Carrion Swarm? Bat Swarm? Carrion Bats? Don't quite remember what the naming convention was.
To the skies.
As you can see, we're doing pretty well. Orc base is still sort of standing.
Asha Thoraman. The goddess.
Even with like 6 minutes remaining.
My strength is yours.
By Elu, point the way. I heed the voice of a leader. Our time on you. Someone.
Do have plenty of Hippogriff riders ready to go.
Land and I are one.
I heed the
Not enough ground forces. No.
Threatens these lands.
It's a shame.
Has sleep dulled my senses? Ashtherodana.
Placing those landmines down.
For Kalimdor,
As they help handle things, man.
insufficient.
threatens these lands. It shall be done.
They constantly keep doing this, do this, do that, do that. One charge forward, one charge together. War, war, war. And this is probably where things go south because frost winds are sort of being a pain. Yes, finger of death. And Filion went down. And this is when it does, oh yeah, there's 2 heroes here and our front line's falling. And everything's going to crap. Is it okay? Time to bail. So we have the final countdown. What, 5 minutes? About 5 minutes remaining. And our base still stands. And again, as I stated earlier, every time they move forward with a new base, they reset their waves, their wave strength, so they go back to T1 waves. So it just goes and crypt things. And since the situation was dire and we saw at the final area, I decided to go ahead and recruit our freebies. Which they aren't really the best, but hey, it can be useful. Use the moon wells for once. Have everyone charge. So we have a bunch of ancient protectors. We got every ability we need, and everything's good.
You orcs are weak and hardly worth the effort. I wonder why Manaroth even bothered with you.
And so let this cutscene play out, because I sort of feeling pretty good, you know.
So be it. At least now.
I mean, last time around, what? We lost with like 5 minutes remaining on my first attempt. The second attempt, again, we sort of cheated through the system by doing the cheapskate, which is annihilating all the acolytes, disrupting their economy, so they can't build any waves to attack you, so you just sit and wait it out. I got this, bro. This is when I start typing things out. I'm like, yeah, I got this. Please no hurt me, bro. And with like 3 minutes remaining on the countdown, I got ancients. I got trees. They're going back to T1. You know, I mean, victory's in the bag, basically, at this point. But since they start all over with their troop composition. And they also start moving the trees from the back and move them up. Because might as well, right? Oh, the one negation's over there. Pick that up. Accidentally pick up a dog troll. Thinking it was an archer. So they was trying to find it. See, they're like, hey, there's an archer over there. Whoop. So yeah, man, this is basically Fight of the Gods in hard mode, spamming Druids of the Claw and Dryads and Hippogriff Riders. So we don't even really build any new production structures. We just use the production structures we have. You know, they give you the tools you need right off the bat. So the first third of the mission, your main objective is to get your economy running and getting your upgrades. And this is when I start explaining in game, which is something I already told you. Like, back to wave 0, the threats. So just go some crypt scenes. Easy 2 minutes. We'll save when the big boy comes. When Archimon shows up for like the last 30 seconds or so. But since we have all the ancient protectors, they're just sending T1 forces at us. You know, it's... we won at this point. No content. And that's why it's extremely important to hold out as long as possible. And then there's the random guy who goes over there and you can say, okay, we'll handle him with that. So again, to reiterate strategy. The first third of the game, focus on getting your economy up specifically. Get extra gold mines, build some extra wisps of wood. Maybe. Or maybe not. I don't know if I built any extra wisps of wood or not. But get your economy up and get your upgrades in place. That's going to be important. And then after that, and while you're managing your upgrades, attempt to build reinforcements when you can. Also, for early game, try to keep Shandrush alive, who's like your hero archer. Or champion archer, however you want to call it. Because she can do a pretty good buff to DPS. Make sure she doesn't get possessed. So, you hear me smack talking Alchemon. Bro, my base is still entire. I win. Yay. Send everyone against Archimon because why not? They won at this point anyway. Still have my entire base. Can't do anything about it. And that was easier than I thought. Well, and like I said, I did this on the first attempt. Easy. And I'm try to get things quickly because the video's about to end. Part 2, once your main upgrades are done, keep focusing on upgrading your army and attempt to use excess currency to buy the mines. Use mines as you goblin landmines so you can use them to lay down your waves, and as well as spam ancient protectors at your base. And if you manage to hold out long enough, the final waves are meaningless. That's it for this little special episode. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll have some proper stuff at a later time. Have a good one, everybody.